Hello, this is Melissa Libby, and welcome to Mom Treading Water. I am very excited for today's guest, Amanda Tice. Amanda is a curve model, and she is the author of the book, The New Mom Code. Obviously, we need to have Amanda on because she can relate to motherhood and is a very non-judgmental mom. Because Amanda, should we share what happened today or this week? With our sick kiddos.
Yeah, for sure. A stomach bug went through our house. There was a storm where I lived in Texas, and it's been a tumult. Last week was a tumultuous week, so I'm ready to march into this week with a completely different perspective.
I have to agree. And Amanda was so gracious because I had to cancel last minute the night before. I'm like, I've got a sick kid, like with a very bad stomach bug. I'm like, even if I could record, no one wanted to hear that background noise. No one.
Oh, no.
I did not want to hear it.
No one wants a stomach bug. That's the worst thing ever, especially with kids. Oh my gosh, it's the worst.
It is the worst, especially when they're little, because they can't say, I don't think they can always articulate. You just find out when it's never in a convenient place whatsoever. We made it through. It through. But today, I'm so excited, Amanda, because you're going to be talking about your book today.
Which I'm very excited about. So, ask away, questions away. Do you want me to give you a brief overview? What are you thinking?
You know what? You're the expert in your book. And we're here to listen to you today, not me. So have at it. I'd love to hear talk about your book.
Okay. So the New Mom Code, it's called The New Mom Code, Shatter Expectations and Crush It at Motherhood. And my book is really all about discussing those quote unquote taboo topics that moms sometimes feel uncomfortable discussing with one another. So in my book, I talk about breastfeeding, postpartum sex, preparing for the future, how to make mom friends. And I try to make it a fun, easy guide that you can follow along with. It's not only advice about how to do those things, but it's also personal stories of mine, as well as journal prompts and exercises you can do to reach your goals in motherhood. And the other really big point I want to make about my book is that unlike a lot of parenting books, this is not about parenting your child whatsoever. This is 100% focused on mom and what you go through as a mother from the time that you get pregnant up until about 3 to 4 years postpartum. And I think it's really important that there's a book solely focused on what mama is experiencing through this period of time.
I think as moms in general, and especially in those first years, you like your needs and about you just completely gets lost.
100%. As soon as that baby is born, all of the attention shifts to the child. And I think that's really hard on a lot of mothers because there's so much that you are going through personally as a mother that people don't talk about. And one of those things is actually matrescence, which I don't know if you read about in my book or not, but it's an anthropologically studied phenomenon about how women as mothers go through a emotional, physical, spiritual transformation that is equivalent to the developmental push of adolescence when they have their child and every time they have another child. So we are going through this major transition with ourselves as mothers that no one really talks about. And it's not even in the Webster's dictionary, which really bothers me.
Yeah, that is concerning. Like it's almost like you're set on a back burner.
For sure.
Essentially.
100%.
Which I don't think that seems like that happens as much with men.
Oh no. I mean, it's interesting for sure. The difference. Regardless, I do, for example, my husband was very supportive. He was very involved, but I think it's really more about the fact that when that baby comes, there are so much that women need to be able to discuss with one another and feel and share when it comes to feeling alone, which I think a lot of postpartum blues comes from really not only feeling alone in your journey, but also just kind of longing for the life that you had, because it becomes very apparent right after you have your child that your life will never be the same. So there are all these things that are going on, and they need to be addressed instead of just baby or just husband or just
Absolutely.
partner.
And last week, actually, or this week's episode on Mom Treading Water is about mom, stay-at-home moms specifically feeling lonely, and a little bit around that taboo. It's especially a stay-at-home mom being told that, oh, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. And yes, absolute blessed. But there are a lot of hard things that come along with it. I would say some days feel harder than when I used to work 12, 14-hour days.
It's different. I mean,
Mhm.
they are both, in my opinion, full-time jobs. I mean, I
Yes.
think being a stay-at-home mom is actually for sure more than a standard, 9 to 5 job,
Yes.
because you're always on. I mean, you always have to be responsible for everything. And that's, your job within the family. So I think that being a stay-at-home mom is a very difficult endeavor to take on, but it's also great because you do get to enjoy those little moments with your child that you might not otherwise be able to have if you are working, at a corporate job or traveling all the time.
Right.
So there are always trade-offs. I mean, I feel like that's just how it is with motherhood in general. There's no perfect middle ground, as much as I would love to say that there was.
Yeah, and there isn't. And you know what? In each, whether you work out of the home or you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're kind of like a mesh in between, which it sounds like you might be a little bit more of like that mesh in between.
I'm an in-betweener.
Yeah, I feel like now with this, I'm an in-betweener too. But each of them have their own challenge. Hopefully, though, that helps us relate to both sides of it better as well.
For sure. I definitely think that that's true.
Right. So I think when people are like, well, this group has it harder, this one does. No, there are pros, there are cons. They're both challenging, they're both rewarding. It just depends on the person.
Yep, agreed.
Right. So that actually is a great transition, because we're going to be talking about chapter 5 in your book today. Yes,
Yes.
just be you, mama.
Yep,
And
that's named chapter 5.
yeah, I
And you
love it.
said you wanted me to read a little excerpt from chapter
I
5.
would love if you would do that, please. Thank you.
Okay, so there is a section called How Do We Set Ourselves Free? And just as a precursor, chapter 5 is called Just Be You, Mama, but it's also how to stop comparing and stop praising and start praising yourself.
Mhm.
So it's really about getting over this whole comparison barrier. Okay, so here is page 78 from How Do We Set Ourselves Free? We hear and absorb countless messages throughout our day, but the key to setting yourself free is reframing and acknowledging all the messages you are exposed to. Let's take a walk through what I believe to be the number one most damaging message we assimilate about ourselves, projected through offline comparison, social media, print, publication, TV, and film. I'm not good enough. Women are all too susceptible to this message because it's in a brand's best interest for you to believe that you will achieve whatever it is you desire by purchasing their product or achieving a certain lifestyle. If you somehow were to realize that you're in fact much better than good enough, they wouldn't have anything to sell, would they? Unraveling and recalibrating this degrading message is no cakewalk, because we're bombarded with it almost every hour of the day. However, if you're able to pinpoint and clarify why you feel this way, it makes it far easier to overcome and conquer. The only person who believes you're not good enough is you, and you have the ability to change that.
That right there. It's true. I mean, really, marketing is about filling a need or creating a need.
Right.
I mean, that's
For
essentially in sales. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And I think the problem is we are just constantly sold different products, whether, especially as women, it's dieting products, it's bras, it's clothes, I mean, everything that make us feel like, well, I need this to be happier, to be a better person, to love myself, to feel better. They sell so much of a lifestyle and an image of what, your life could be, when in fact, you may already have a wonderful life just the way it is. But by always telling you you're not good enough, you will constantly be in this battle with yourself and the outside world until you come to the realization that you don't have to absorb all these messages. You can say no. Like, you can say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to feel that way. And I'm going to take control of, how I feel about myself and what things I want to improve on, or what lifestyle changes I want to make. So you are sitting in the driver's seat. And I think people forget that they have that ability to do that.
As a model, I that sends such a powerful message, because part of your career has been physically, like, for example, how you looked, how you presented yourself. And one of our conversation was talking about, do you remember this, about talking about wearing a bra and back fat?
Yes.
And
yes.
I never even realized I had back fat until I saw those advertisements, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm obese back. That's all.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, because how much time do you spend looking at your back? I almost never look at my back. And it's just sad that now, people are like, oh, well, I need a back smoothing bra because whoever's seen me from behind needs to see this like smooth figure. Who cares? Right. I feel like this sense of, there's so much of, you have to try to fit into this box. And the problem is, we live in a society right now where everything is retouched and photoshopped and just not real. We think that, we see this image of this woman wearing whatever, let's say a bra, for example, and she's got perfect perky breasts, and there are no possible wrinkles or lines or rolls in her body, and that's just not real. And so it's very confusing, I think, for our brains as well, because we assimilate the message of like, oh, I should look like this. That doesn't exist. How can you look like something that doesn't exist? That was completely fabricated by a computer. So, even, I had a social media post that I did yesterday about aging, actually. And it's like, right now I have a ton of gray hairs. You can see them on here. And, I've got wrinkles. I've got a bunch more wrinkles than I ever had. I've got age spots. And it's kind of like, you just need to acknowledge and share with people, like, this is all normal. Like, aging is beautiful. This shows that I've learned things. I've lived my life well. I have a certain level of knowledge and wisdom. And, even in my book, I talk about how after you have a baby, you get all these new, differences in your body. You get new wrinkles, I have more skin tags than I would have ever thought I could have possibly had. And, I like to call them mom gems. And I like to call them my mom gems. And I think it's important because it is acknowledging that this was a part of your life that you are wearing on you. It's like jewelry. It's like, I love jewelry. So mom gems are the perfect thing to carry around with me and be wearing all day long. And they're also the things that make me unique, right? You're not going to necessarily have 15 of the same skin tags in the same spot, or like the same beauty mark I have on my lip, right? Like, these are all the things that make me as an individual beautiful, at least in my opinion. So it frustrates me when we live in a society where we're told we need to get rid of these things that are very natural. White hair is going to happen. Wrinkles are going to happen. This is all a natural part of aging. Same thing, stretch marks are going to happen when you have a baby. Like, that's just natural. And instead of telling mothers, like, that's a beautiful part of your journey, that is a physical representation of the journey you've been on, we are told, oh, well, let's erase that. let's put some special cream on it. Let's, let's go under the knife to make it look a different way. And I just find it so sad that we are at that point culturally and socially that we feel the need to do these sorts of things in order to appear quote unquote beautiful to society's standards.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a little bit since I've read your book.
Sure.
But there's a point in there where I think you talk about that, saying, in your career as a model, that you would look at photos and you would be like, oh, that's me. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
almost wouldn't recognize yourself.
Yeah, for sure. It has been very interesting throughout my career because Photoshop changes who you look like. I have definitely walked by advertisements before that were me and not realized it was me, and had a friend of mine be like, oh, I saw that, that catalog that you were in. And I'm like, I just looked at that catalog. I wasn't in it. And then having to go back and say, oh, you're right, that is me. But they airbrushed out like my beauty mark, and they airbrushed out my wrinkles. So I look like a totally different person. And like I said, I think it's so sad that we're at a point culturally and socially that we think we have to look flawless. And it's hard on social media too, talking about comparison. You can't say, and I'm not saying I don't do this, because I do, it's part of my job, but I would say 90% of the images we are assimilating have all been filtered. Mm-hmm. I don't know anyone who goes online on their Instagram account and doesn't edit their photos or videos before they post them. And so even when it comes to us thinking about being authentic and putting ourselves out there, we are still filtering that image. So there comes a point where we just try to need to be as transparent as possible. And I do, another thing that I talked about on my Instagram page last week was about the fact that you have to remember not to just gloss over images. And what I mean by that is, and I posted some things about this, people sometimes look at my work life and they think, oh, like what an amazing glamorous job. Like she must have the best time eating the best food. It must be easy work and whatever it is. And the reality is, when I'm on a modeling job, like I was last week in Portugal, I'm on my feet for 10 hours. I can't usually sit down because I can't wrinkle the clothes. Sometimes they give me shoes that are a size too small. It can be, sometimes I'm wearing a fur jacket in 80-degree weather. I mean, people don't realize that when they see that perfect image and that lifestyle of perfection, they don't see all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. And I think that's very damaging a lot of times to women, because they see these images and they're like, wow, that looks amazing, or I wish I could be doing that, or I wish I was there, without really understanding all of the things that are going on behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And that happens too with just moms in general. You see a mom out and they have their nice mom blog, and it's them on some fancy vacation and whatever it is. And then they don't talk about the fact that, their family got COVID while they were there, and they spent half their trip, in their hotel room. Yeah. Right. Like it's true. We have this unfortunate tendency to always portray the best of everything. And that's where we get back to this negative loop of I'm not good enough, because we're constantly just seeing the best of everything. And I think that's just very tough on moms. And I think if we can get to a place where we can learn to love and accept where we are right now, when it comes to our lifestyle, our body, our financial situation, you're in the best position to feel the most joy and have the best experience you can have when it comes to your motherhood journey.
When were you able to actually make that shift? I mean, again, I have to think that you probably dealt with a lot of criticism in your career. If they said, you need to do this, you need to do that, don't Am I incorrect in that assumption that you were?
No, I mean, as a model, you have to be prepared to be rejected hundreds, if not thousands of times. I mean, I get rejected all the time. I think that's just at the beginning, I think it becomes something where it feels hurtful, where you're like, well, why didn't they pick me? It's kind of like, when you play sports as a kid, why did they pick me last? Why did they pick me? Right. But at a certain point, and maybe this also comes with age too, I have just come to acknowledge that I'm going to be me. And if you want me, great. And if you don't, your loss. And I think if women can kind of get to that point of realizing they have so much to offer, every single one of us is unique. We each have our own strengths that make us a 100% unique person in this world. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, if my image does not align with your brand, fine. That's just not going to work. That's okay. So I don't take it personally anymore. I'm more like, okay, if you think that your brand does align with either my messages or the way I look or what I represent, then great. Let's work together on whatever this project is. So I have made an active effort to realize that a lot of the rejection is just not personal. It's either I'm what they want or what they don't want. And if they don't want me, that's fine. Someone else will. So, you have to get, at least for me, I've gotten to that place where it takes a lot of, emotional deep work on my part to feel that way. But I know that I have a lot to offer, and the people who can see that value, great. The people who can't, it's their loss.
So how do you shift that mindset into your parenting or as being a mom? I mean, because moms, we're tough on ourselves. We don't need
we're so tough on ourselves.
We're so tough. Sometimes I don't even think we need those outside pressures, because if you halfway care, you can tear yourself up apart about the most ridiculous thing. Yeah. So how have you made that shift or have you made that shift?
Are you talking about how I made that shift with my body, or are you talking about how I made that shift, in terms of parenting?
Because in terms of parenting.
Okay. So honestly, I would say with George, I love sharing my work with him. So that has been one of the things that's actually been very joyful to me, because I have been able to pull out a catalog either from the past or from now and be like, look, here's mommy and the newest Talbot's catalog, which is fun. But then on top of that, I've been doing so many more podcasts about my book. And because before I wrote this book, we used to listen to Storytime podcasts, he is just over the moon when he gets to listen to podcast episodes I'm on. He will sit there and listen for an hour to a podcast interview that I'm on. But part of the reason I share this with him too is because it's my way of showing that I'm proud of my work and showing him that my work is hopefully helping other women to feel like better versions of themselves. And I think he really feels that, because it's funny. The other day I heard him talking to a friend of his, and he said, my mommy is an author and she's on a podcast. And he was so excited about that. And I think that, it's important for, these especially young boys to realize that there's an equality, there's equality between women and men and working and beauty. Yes. And I want him to know that I feel good about myself and I'm proud to share these things with him. And I noticed that because I am proud to share these things with him, he's proud to share them with his friends and with his community. So it's, I think that's an important part of it. And it also helps to confirm your own feelings about yourself. When you feel, at least when I feel kind of distraught or I'm having a hard time or I get insecure, it's so nice to have him come back around and be like, mommy, I'm so proud of you. Like when I book a job, or like, that's so awesome that you got to do this. Your kids can be really great supporters of you without you even thinking that they could play that role. So I think that's really important too.
My kids do the same thing. They like to, and this is always a clean podcast just because I do know that sometimes people play it with their kids around, and I don't want to be responsible for someone's child swearing.
Yeah.
That's not the message, and I don't want that to happen. But you know what? My kids feel the same joy. They love their like mom treading water, and I had them on an episode once. Like we did a
Amazing.
speed interview thing. It was pretty funny. They got daddy in a lot of trouble for speeding, but that's a different topic for a different day. But they do, and they do feel that joy. I absolutely agree with you.
So they're good at also confirming your own insecurities.
Yes.
And look, let me tell you, let's be 100% real here. It's not like every day I wake up and I think, oh, everything's amazing. And, I always feel great about myself and I don't need anything. That's not true at all. I think that's a complete farce to think that that's true.
Yes.
I think that the goal is always to try to feel like you're good enough. And it's not going to be every day. It's going to fluctuate constantly. But to actively be aware of what's going on and realize the messages that you're assimilating, and then being able to step back from it and try to reframe your perspective is what's important. And it does take work. I mean, it's not like I do it, you do it once and then everything always changes. There are still times when I get rejected from a job and I'm a little heartbroken because maybe I really wanted to work with that company, or I really wanted to go to whatever the location was that was for that job. Mm-hmm. But you have to try your best to reframe how you deal with those things and realize that you provide your own important value that's unique to you.
Yeah. And I think when we do that as parents, when we start to, like you said, sometimes you just have to like feel it within and be like, yes, I'm going to be confident today. I mean, you're teaching that to your children as well.
Right.
You can say things 1,000 times over, but it's going to be the behavior and the reactions that you share, I think, what resonates more.
I agree with you. Yeah, especially at this age, actions speak so much louder than words when it comes to children. They pay very close attention to all the things that you're doing and less attention to what you're saying.
Yep, that sounds about right. That sounds exactly right, actually. It's true. A few weeks ago, I had a woman on, her name is Carrie, and it was about, we were talking about how the importance of getting your kids outside. And she gave some great tips and techniques for getting your kids out the door without being basically a nervous breakdown.
Right.
She was totally on mark. I have been adopting those and it's been so much easier. It's not perfect. And I have to absolutely catch my behavior to make sure I'm not like fostering that behavior. But it's true. Those actions, hands down, louder than words. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if folks are clearly going to want to read your book,
I hope so.
Of course they are. Why would they not? Because you're so real, and you're not promoting perfection. You're promoting embracing being yourself and being okay with that, and just learning to be better, not change, just be a better version of you, a more confident and more comfortable person as yourself.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's, a lot of my book is all about normalizing so many of the things that we don't talk about. And I think that's really important when it comes to being a new mother, because there are so many ways to beat ourselves up, like you were talking about before, and so many ways that we're so hard on ourselves that we need the reminders in this book about what you're going through is totally normal, and I think mothers need that, and they need strategies that they can use, which I also provide in this book through my exercises, to get there and to feel more whole and to feel more confident, because they should feel confident. Mothers are amazing. They're superhumans, right?
Yes.
All the things that they're balancing and doing and experiencing, it should be as joyful as it can be. And that's never going to happen until certain things are normalized and until certain people start talking and mothers are open about all of these things that are going on behind the scenes.
Well, I think your book is going to absolutely provide that. It does provide that. Not, I think, I know it does. So I believe you can get it on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes, you can purchase it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and you can even order it through like your local bookstores. So anywhere you get your books.
Great. And I will include all of those links in the show notes. I'll also include the link to your website, as well as your Instagram page. Can I speak today? See right there, imperfections. We're just embracing them on your
Embrace it.
Instagram.
We're not perfect.
We are not perfect, and nor should we expect to be.
Yeah.
Right?
And I also have, just so you know, I have
Yes, please.
I have a Facebook group called the New Mom Code Facebook group. And that's just a place where mothers can share information.
Great. I'll include that as well. So we can keep sharing this important message that it's all good, mamas. We're doing great.
Yeah.
We're killing
exactly.
it, right?
Yes, exactly. We're killing it. We're crushing it at motherhood.
Yes, we are. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad that we were able to meet and connect, and I'm excited for you. Congratulations on your book. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
You.
And it was lovely to chat with you as well.
You too. I'm glad no one's sick anymore. I'm glad everyone's
I
sick-free.
know.
To all you mothers out there, wishing you sick-free time.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we will talk soon, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
I'd love that.
I would love